Okay, good morning. We are going to go ahead and start our deep breathing this morning. I will count you in, well, descending order 3, 2, 1. You will inhale and exhale, inhale and exhale, inhale and exhale. 3 deep cleansing breaths. Focus on emotional regulation, notifying the brain regions that we're getting ready to use them today. 3, 2, 1. I'm coming back in frame. Okay, good morning. I am Dr. Donna Louise Thomas-Rodgers, daughter of Leslie Darnell Thomas, granddaughter of Arthur Jethro Evelyn II, great-granddaughter of Levi Thomas. Welcome to your morning mental workout. Today's topic is the 43rd principle of real leadership in chronological order, and it is hold yourself and others personally accountable. Hold yourself and others personally accountable. But it is the number one principle of real leadership. It is the primary principle of real leadership, in that if you don't hold yourself and others personally accountable, the other 73 won't work. I'm going to say that again. If you don't hold yourself and others personally accountable day in and day out, the other 73 aren't going to work. You know what else is not going to work? Your amazing prefrontal cortex. It's not going to work either. You are going to experience negativity bias. You're going to experience a hijacked amygdala. And as a result of that, nothing that I say or nothing that I tell you to do, instruct you to do, give you the ability to do is going to work if you don't follow this number one principle. So yes, in chronological order, it is number 43, but in order of importance, it is the most important principle of real leadership. Hold yourself and others personally accountable. And the quote that I will begin with, good morning, Regina, is this: personal accountability. Without it, we become reckless. I'm going to say that again. Personal accountability. Without it, we become reckless. And how do we become reckless? Hijacked amygdalas. That means that if your amygdala is hijacked, if you have a strong amygdala and you have a weak prefrontal cortex, you will become reckless because you will shut off access to your executive function. So there is no working memory, there is no cognitive flexibility, and most importantly, there is no inhibition control. And without inhibition control, the amygdala will say and do things continuously that go against your best interest for yourself and, more importantly, for your brain. So the number one principle of real leadership is to hold yourself and others personally accountable. Let's explore what that looks like today. So this is, excuse me, I love the air. Okay, so here is Dr. Donna's definition of personal accountability. And I've said it before, it's you're responsible and accountable for all that you do and all that you fail to do. But as I think about this more and more, what does that look like? If you've not been exposed to it, you're saying, yeah, but I mean, what does that mean? So today we're going to deep dive into what it actually means. Personal accountability is the real leader's willingness to own their actions, their decisions, and outcomes without excuses, blame, or avoidance. So you're going to own your actions, all of your decisions, and all of your outcomes without excuses, blame, or avoidance. So if you are making excuses, if you are blaming, and if you are avoiding, you are not personally accountable. You are personally unaccountable. When you are personally accountable, you own your actions, your decisions, and your outcomes. Is that clear? That is one major difference so that you understand what is actually taking place. Next, it is the internal discipline to be responsible first to yourself and then to others. What did I say? It is the internal discipline to be responsible first to yourself and then to others. I've said it many times. If you're on an aircraft, flight attendant, as you're taxiing away from the gate, they say, hey, in the event of loss of cabin pressure, oxygen mask is going to come down. You're going to put your oxygen mask on first, and then you're going to assist the others around you. So in order to be personally accountable, it starts with you. Fix you first. It fixes a lot. Be accountable, personally accountable to yourself, and then to others. So you're not personally accountable to everybody else and then you. That's not how that works. Now, unaccountable people have trained you to be accountable to them first, and then whatever you got left over, you can work that out amongst yourself when you got no more neurons and you got brain drain. Yeah, whatever you got left over, the crumbs and everything, yeah, that's for you. No, that's not how personal accountability works. You're responsible for you first, then to others. And now it also means aligning what you think with what you say and what you do. What you think, what you say, and what you do. That's why I say listen to what people do. It's going to tell you a lot about them. Don't listen to that pimp shit at the bus stop, at the bus terminal. They're trying to pick you up and get you to be part of the stable. No, don't pay no attention to that. Listen to what people do. If I tell you I'm live every day at 5:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time every day, and I show up 2 days out the week, 5 days out the month, I'm not doing what I said I was going to do. That's not what's going to happen. If I tell you I'm going to email you within 24 hours and you hear from me in 72 hours, then I'm not doing what I said I was going to do. So it is what you do. So it's what you think, what you say, and what you do. All of those have to match if you're going to be personally accountable. Now, personal accountability means recognizing that growth, results, and change begin in your own brain. Up here, this thing that you can't see, but it's there. Growth, results, and change begin in your own brain. Why? Because that's where the neuroplasticity takes place. That's where the hippocampus bank of neurons gives you the ability to withdraw to create synaptic connections according to Hebb's law in order to make new neural pathways. So it starts up here. And then it's your ability to realize that you are a thermostat and that you set the standard and that you're not a thermometer that reacts to every circumstance. Be a thermostat, not a thermometer, is one of the 74 principles of real leadership. So in essence, what does that mean? This means that personal accountability is your willingness to own your actions, your decisions, and your outcomes. It means that you are going to put yourself first before anybody else. It means that you're going to use your brain to grow, get your results, and change based upon the daily decisions and actions that you make. It means that everything that you think, do, and say aligns with personal accountability and that you are a thermostat and not a thermometer. So, what revelation do you have now that you've had the expanded definition of personal accountability? What stuck out for you or went woo, or you had an aha moment? Because I'm not asking, is it clear? I'm asking, what part of that made you go, I resonate with all that. Oh, I'm doing all that. Oh, damn. Oh, that's part of personal accountability too. Whew. All right. That was the expanded version. That was definitely the extended version of that. Because normally you just say it's all you do and all that you fail to do. And now you found out exactly how much you do or you need to do. So again, as you're responding, thinking, emoji, or a brain. What does that mean for you? And this is about to be hot because the outside of the cup is still, I'm not even about to do that to myself. Let me drink some water. Good morning, Lola. Did y'all hear the question? Because I don't see any dots, any brains or any thinking. I gave you the extended definition of personal accountability, and I'm asking you your thoughts. Regina says, focus starts with me, myself, and I. That is where it happens at. That's why it's personal accountability. It is personal. Repeat what part, Kevin? The question? YouTube is bugging. It wants me right now to ask y'all a question, your favorite board game. Clearly, it's not listening to what I'm talking about. The question is, I just gave you the extended version of personal accountability definition. So I'm asking you, what part of that definition resonated with you? What part made you think, oh, wow, I didn't know that. Oh, is it all that? Or, yeah, I'm doing all those things. And I don't want to give you the answer, but I'm just giving you examples of what part of it resonated. So it's not a matter of if it's clear. I'm well aware that it is clear. I'm saying what part for you, because it's time to start internalizing, especially for this principle of real leadership, because it is the number one principle of real leadership. What does that mean to you? Because if you don't have this foundation, then you'll still have personally unaccountable people in your life and not know why. And it will be because you are not using the first principle of real leadership, which is what I just read and explained. And so if you're thinking now, Kevin, that there's always more to learn about personal accountability. That's Noah's response. And I would chime in with that and say, the reason why that is a true statement is because if you're always growing and changing and getting more results, you're always going back to the hippocampus bank of neurons and getting more neurons every day. So it's an ever evolving process. So if I use myself, for example, the things that I was personally accountable for 10 years ago is not what I'm personally accountable for today, or 15 years ago, or 20 years ago. You'll catch the next part. Did you come in late, Kevin? Is that what happened? Because you can't catch the next part, because the next part is explaining the difference between accountability and personal accountability. So you got to catch this ball that I threw. Okay, so I'm gonna reread the definition again, because this is the most important part of all of the 74 principles of real leadership. So this is the part that has to be caught. So personal accountability is the real leader's willingness to own their actions, decisions, and outcomes without excuses, blame, or avoidance. So that means you're going to own your actions, every decision that you make, and every outcome that is the result of those decisions. You're going to be accountable and responsible for that. And you're not going to make excuses, you're not going to blame, and you're not going to avoid. That's how you know if somebody is unaccountable. Because if they are making excuses, they're blaming others, and they are avoiding things, then they are personally unaccountable. When they own their actions, their decisions, and all of their outcomes from those decisions, they are personally accountable. It is the internal discipline to be responsible first to yourself and then to others. So you're going to be responsible to yourself first and then others. And the example I always use is if you are in an aircraft, flight attendant says in the event of loss of cabin pressure, you put your oxygen mask on first, you assist others around you. So you're going to be responsible first to yourself. And then you're going to align what you think, say, and do. So everything that you think, say, and do have to be aligned. You can't say, I'm going to be live every day in my case and then be live 5 days out the month. That doesn't align with what I think, what I say, and what I do. And then personal accountability means recognizing that growth, results, and change begin in your brain. So everything that you're going to grow, everything that you're going to change, and every result that you get is the direct result of it starting up here in your brain. And that makes you a thermostat where you set the standard and not a thermometer where you're reacting to your circumstances. And so, be a thermostat, not a thermometer, is one of the 74 principles of real leadership, as well as set and maintain high standards. So, in essence, everything that you think, say, and do has to align. Every outcome that you have is a result of your own decision making. And when you use your brain, you're going to grow, get good results, and you're going to constantly be changing because your brain is ever evolving. You're going to be making those neurological synaptic connections to create those new neural pathways. So now I'll go back to the original question is, now that I've given the extended definition of personal accountability, what part of that resonated with you? And reminder, if you are thinking ... ellipse is a ... thinking emoji or brain something, so that I will know that YouTube is not malfunctioning and your chat is still working, because it appears that every day somebody's chat isn't functioning. Everything you said is what we have discussed since the first day I started attending the lives. Okay. And so how does that make you feel? Because that's like a statement. So I'm saying, what part of that? That's an assessment. So now I'm asking you to internalize it for yourself. And what does that mean for you? How does this definition resonate with inside of yourself? And Lola, are you working out or working? I said Lola, not Nola, or Nola, unless you want to say something else. Nola says, I'm just working to do that every day. Got it. And Kevin, are you thinking? To rest something? No, I'm just waiting on Kevin's other response. Re-say something. No, ma'am. I'm just waiting to ensure that Kevin is aligned with himself so that the rest of this makes sense. For me, over the last 2 weeks, you have demonstrated it more than ever. When you started sending emails that put you first, became more real for me. Okay, thank you for that, sir. All right. Now, next, we are going to talk about the difference between accountability and personal accountability. And the reason why this is necessary is because anytime I go live and I say personal accountability, whether I'm on TikTok or Instagram, people say, "Oh no, I'm definitely accountable. I'm definitely accountable." And I say, "I know, but that's not personal accountability." They say, "Oh," and then I say, "Are you personally accountable?" Yeah. And then they start listing what they're doing, and it's not personal accountability. So I feel compelled to, in this moment, say what the actual difference is. So here it is. Accountability, in the general sense, is this. Accountability is often understood as external systems. So that's rules, deadlines, performance reviews, policies, or supervisors holding you accountable, parents holding you accountable, family members holding you accountable. It's about others expecting you to deliver and measuring whether you met the standard. Many people stop here, thinking accountability is something imposed from the outside. So it's an outside in action. Personal accountability, aka real leadership, is that personal accountability is internal. So it begins in your own brain, as I mentioned. So it's the real leader's choice to self-regulate, to own outcomes, and align thought, word, and actions without waiting for anybody else to check in on them. It's thermostat leadership rather than thermometer reaction. You set the standard, you don't just respond to it. So here's why people confuse them. External focus bias. The brain prefers external pressure, deadlines, authority, and oversight. Why? Because it reduces the cognitive load of self discipline. People confuse accountability with being managed. I'm going to say that again. So it's an external focus bias. That means it's external pressure for deadlines, authority, and oversight. And because it reduces cognitive load on your self-discipline. I don't have to be self-disciplined because the government, my parents, the job, the school system, the law enforcement, the court system, all of them are going to keep me in line. That's managing. That is not being personally accountable. Next, avoidance of discomfort. So true personal accountability requires facing your mistakes, rewiring your habits in the basal ganglia, and being brutally honest with yourself. The amygdala resists discomfort, so people default to the easier, someone else is in charge of my accountability. The government, the job, the city government, the local officials, somebody else is in charge of it, so I don't have to concern myself with that. And then number 3, the language overlap. And this is important. In everyday speech, accountability and personal accountability are used interchangeably. That's no brainer. But Dr. Donna emphasizes that one is about external systems, while the other is about internal ownership. And leadership requires both, but it starts with personal accountability. So in short, people confuse them because they think accountability is something done to them, when in real leadership, personal accountability is something done by them. So accountability is something that's happening from the outside in and it's done to you. Personal accountability is something that you're doing yourself and you are the author of your personal accountability. So what questions do you have about the difference between accountability and personal accountability? And if it's clear, then say it's clear and give it an example as to why you know it's clear. Because people have been confusing that since I've been saying it. Oh no, I'm accountable. And I have said it's not following the rules, making sure you don't get a parking ticket and all of the law enforcement and everything else. That's accountability. You'll pay your taxes and your bills on time. Those are all mandated by an external force. If you don't pay your light bill, you ain't gonna have no lights. Hence, that's why you pay your light bill. If you want to drive your car and you didn't pay cash for it, you're going to have to pay a car note. So people say, see, I am personally accountable. I pay all my bills. That's because entities outside of you said pay your bills or you don't get to have this stuff. That's how that works. You want water coming out the faucet, you're going to have to pay the water people. You want some heat, some AC, you got to pay them. If you want gas in your car, you have an electric vehicle, you want some power to your car, you got to pay. So that's external accountability. Personal accountability says, I'm not going to be overweight. I am going to control what I put in my mouth. Personal accountability says, I'm going no screen time. It's going to be me and the Tibetan monks listening to some music. That's personal accountability. Personal accountability says, I've been out of school, high school, 34 years. I can still fit my prom dress. Me saying, yep, you know what? I was a wife once. I'm good. Not doing that again. Bless the people who can, but I'm not the one. So Noah says accountable things are what you're supposed to do, like the laws. Personal accountability is good, going above and beyond and pushing yourself for best. Yes, it is a personal choice that you make. It starts in the brain and says, here is what I'm getting ready to do, regardless of what any other external accountable organization says do. If you want food, you have to go to a place that has food, put it in a basket, and before you walk out the door, you got to pay for the food. That is accountability. Clear. Personal accountability leads you to your best. Ooh, Kevin, accountability is basic. I like that. Wow. All right. You should make that one, that your post this morning, Kevin, that accountability is basic and regular. You said it's basic. Got a little chill from that. Uh, Regina said the center of personal accountability, the onus is from within the self. It's internal. Exactly. And now y'all can understand. I know for me, it became very clear. Now you can understand why people are just accountable. Because again, that external focus is like, man, I'm going to experience the amygdala and the avoidance of discomfort. The amygdala is like, I don't feel like doing that. I just wait for the government and everybody to tell me. And then you know what else that feeds is now you get to blame, you get to finger point, and you don't have to be responsible for the outcome. The government told me to do this. The school system said it. My parents said it. My job told me. It just pay attention to how people speak within this week. And you, good morning, Sean. And what you will see is they have their own language, unaccountability-esque. They speak it very well. They are fluent in being unaccountable. It works for them, and it works because again, when you have a deflated, atrophied and working memory, and you just want to manufacture dopamine, give it to me, give it to me, give it to me, give it to me. The last thing you're thinking about is I need to be focused on me. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to go scroll for 5 hours. I'm going to eat all this bad food, and then I'm gonna just get a prescription, and then they're just gonna give me a pill for all the bad choices that I made, and I might have some side effects, but then I'll just take a pill for that, and then I'll do this for that. And so people end up saying, when are they going to? When are they going to? When they gone, that don't even make no sense. Why they do that? And I was just wondering to myself, did you see what they just did today? You ain't gonna believe what the city just did over there on the west side. And so you begin. Good morning, Haywood. It's Dr. Donna. So now you begin to understand why it's so challenging to get someone to understand you need to be personally accountable. Because they're saying, I got an 800 credit score. Look at my house. Look at my car. Look at all this stuff I got. And that all came from an external source that says, here is the definition of success. Here is the definition of failure. And if you fall in one of those two, you're a failure or you're a success. Kudos to you. Good job. But that's not true. Because a bunch of people with good credit scores and a lot of money, and they are personally unaccountable. They are unempathetic. They are not empathetic. They don't do what they say they're going to do. They make excuses. They blame everybody else. They treat people like trash. And then because these external entities said, you're great, you're wonderful, then they believe that they are. But personal accountability says, I don't give a fuck about none of that shit. I'm the standard by which excellence is measured. I make the rules over here for me, myself personally, and your standards, as Kevin said, are basic. They are basic, and that's why people want extra credit for basic. I told y'all it was 70%. It is C's get degrees. It is 70%. 70%. Now everything does look basic, average, and regular. When you look through your personal accountability lenses, you like, that's it? That's all? That's it. Remember that song, When We Gonna Get to the Good Part? Like, this ain't the good part. Whew. All right, I'm out. Y'all still doing that. And as you find yourself using more and more neural pathways, you really gonna see the basicness of even the most pristine person, the person that's supposed to be genius-esque. You can be like, that's it. That took like 100 million neurons to do that. That ain't no synaptic connections. Get out of here with that nonsense. Now you understand. Next time somebody tells you they're accountable and they start listing all their external regulated accountable shit, you could be like, all right, I'm out. Oh, yeah. Oh, really? And then just start bringing to their attention personal accountability. It's always interesting that people that have a lot of money and they are 100 pounds overweight are always talking about how much money they have, what they've done at their job and everything else. And I am like, your internal organs are crying every time you lift that big giant leg up. And you over here acting like you're doing something because you got an 800 credit score. Okay, 800 credit score. All the people that you leave behind, because your heart is going to stop and give out on your ass. And the diabetes and the gout and everything else. You got a whole liquor cabinet full of everything talking about how healthy you are. And you drinking poison every day, all day long. Okay, cool, got it. Roger that. And I'm not saying you don't need to consume alcohol, but I am saying if you are consuming it on a daily basis, that you might want to check, see what's actually happening in your very awesome life that you're trying to exist in. It's interesting to me. Saw a lady yesterday. We were leaving Whole Foods, her and her daughter. She was leaving in a brand new Range Rover. It had all the bells and whistles on it. And as she was driving away, her facial expression said it all. This shit ain't panning out like I thought. I live in this affluent neighborhood. Look at me with my new $200,000 vehicle and my little daughter. And we're here in the afternoon while everybody else is off doing things. This should be perfect. And her face said otherwise, because that internal fulfillment is not there. And no matter how much you try to go and purchase it, what you can't purchase is natural dopamine, self-fulfillment. You cannot go purchase it, but the external entities make you think that you can. And then you wonder why it's not working out. And then you just get to blame everybody else and say, nope, this is why it's not working out. But personal accountability says, yeah, I'm good. I don't need all that. I have enough. I don't need more than enough. I have enough and I'm good. Excess. Aristotle said all things in moderation and nothing in excess. So if you have excess, it's time for you to get rid of those things. If you have more than you can use and more than you need, that means you have excess. And the question is excess. Why are you having excess? I call it stuffification. Your stuff is suffocating you. So that's why you can't think straight or do anything, because you got to make sure you get this abundance. I say it all the time. People in our subdivision, most of them have 2-car. Everybody has 2-car garages. Technically, cars are too damn big. You can get one in there. And they got both cars in the driveway. And some of them have 3 cars and 4 cars. Got to park in guest parking because their garage is full of all of that external stuff that they were told that they needed. And that is personally unaccountable, because eliminate clutter is one of the 74 principles of real leadership. And so if you have clutter, you're being personally unaccountable. If you have clutter, you are being, I'm not saying don't store things. You have Christmas decorations for people, they have Halloween and all that, things like that. But I'm saying if you don't even know where stuff is, you got too much shit. That's what I'm saying. If you can't go find the thing that you're looking for and you don't know where everything is, it's time for you to be personally accountable and clear out that clutter so you can see clutter up here shows up as clutter out here, and you are being personally unaccountable. So in summary, what happens is that external accountability, the regulations from the government and all of those other entities, law enforcement, school system, city government, local government, townships, assembly people, all that keeps you in line. And that's making you think that you are personally accountable. But as Kevin said, best is personal accountability, not basic. That's basic, but that's not best. So it's your decision to decide if you're going to be basic or best. You got to decide for that. Okay, so I mentioned yesterday that there were going to be pop quizzes coming up in the future, and today is that day. So go gather some pop quiz materials, and it's 5 questions. Nola, this is a great opportunity for you to see how your listening challenge is going. And so we're going to have 5 questions on a personal accountability quiz today. So when you have some note-taking materials, please give me a thumbs up. I'm ready. Let's do this. Yay. Give Dr. Donna a hand clap of praise for another pop quiz. So you're going to assess your level of personal accountabilities. We have plenty of time. All right, Regina. Is that a timer? Got it. Again, the format that I will be using is I will read the questions and answers twice. Again, you are totaling up your letters at the end, and I will give you a summary of your answers, what category you fall in to. All right, Kevin, I'm not quite sure. Did you put an emoji there? I can't see what that one is. I'm just kidding. I see it. You're ready. Yes, sir. Okay. No, Regina, you're a former teacher. How you gonna do that to me? You are a retired educator. Over 4 decades of teaching. And you're going to say, I hear you, Kevin. You're supposed to be on the side of the educator. How dare you? To the profession. Shame on you. Just out here by myself. I thought we was kinesthetically aligned right now. Oh, man. Okay. Sean is ready. And then Nola, let me know when you're ready. Yes, we be. Okay. So again, this is how this is going to go. I'm going to read the questions and the answers. The answers will be A, B, C, or D twice on the questions, and then it's 5 questions total. At the end, I will give you the summation, and you will know where you are from a personal accountability perspective. Okay, all right, Lola, here we go. Question number 1. When you miss a deadline, your first thought is A, who else dropped the ball? B, I had too much going on. C, I should have prioritized differently and will adjust. Or D, it wasn't really that important. Question number 1 again. When you miss a deadline, your first thought is A, who else dropped the ball? B, I had too much going on. C, I should have prioritized differently and will adjust. And D, it wasn't really that important. No, Sean, you write your answer on your paper. So don't tell me the answer. You keep a tally of it. And see somebody's car. I hate aftermarket when it's done poorly. Yes. Okay. You should have the answer for question number 1 now. Question number 2. How often do you reflect on your own decisions without prompting? How often do you reflect on your own decisions without prompting? A, rarely, only if someone calls me out. B, occasionally, when things go wrong. C, regularly, as part of my own growth routine. And D, never. I move on quickly. Question number 2. How often do you reflect on your own decisions without outside prompting? A, rarely, only if someone calls me out. B, occasionally, when things go wrong. C, regularly, as part of my own growth routine. Or D, never. I move on quickly. Question number 3. When receiving feedback that stings you. When receiving feedback that stings you. A, defend yourself immediately. B, blame circumstances on other people. C, thank the person and ask how you can improve. D, ignore it and keep doing what you're doing. Question number 3. When receiving feedback that stings you. A, defend yourself immediately. B, blame circumstances on other people. C, thank the person and ask how you can improve. Or D, ignore it and keep doing what you were doing. Question number 4. Which best describes how you handle commitments? Which best describes how you handle commitments? A, I do them if someone checks in on me. B, I try, but distractions pull me off track. C, I follow through because I said I would. And D, I renegotiate or often forget. Question number 4. Which best describes how you handle commitments? A, I do them if someone checks in on me. B, I try, but distractions pull me off track. C, I follow through because I said I would. And D, I renegotiate or forget often. And question number 5. What's your brain's default setting when results don't go as planned? What's your brain's default setting when results don't go as planned? A, excuses. It's never my fault. B, blame. I look for who caused it. C, ownership. What can I rewire next time? And D, avoidance. I don't think about it. Question number 5, and it's the final question. What's your brain's default setting when results don't go as planned? A, excuses. It's never my fault. B, blame. I look for who caused it. C, ownership. What can I rewire next time? And D, avoidance. I don't think about it. And so now you're going to add up your letters, and I will reveal what happens with the letters. So you should have 5 answers, 5 letters, and a combination of A's, B's, C's, D's. And let me know when you've added everything up. So give me a thumbs up so that you know how many A's, B's, C's, and D's you have. Okay, Lola, you can't have 15. You can only, remember, each question only has one answer. So question 1 should just have one answer. Question 2 should just letters. Okay, hold up. Give me 1 second. So Lola, you should have an answer for question 1, an answer for question 2, an answer for question 3, an answer for question 4, and an answer for question 5. So you should only have 5 letters. And in those 5 letters, so let's say you have 2 A's, 2 B's, 2 C's. Okay, got it. Now, Regina, please read question 5 again. Okay. Question 5. What's your brain's default setting when results don't go as planned? What's your brain's default setting when results don't go as planned? The answers are A, excuses. It's never my fault. B, blame. I look for who caused it. C, ownership. What can I rewire next time? And D, avoidance. I don't think about it. Question number 5 again. What's your brain's default setting when results don't go as planned? A, excuses. It's never my fault. B, blame. I look for who caused it. C, ownership. What can I rewire next time? And D, avoidance. I don't think about it. Okay, Lola, that's your answer. Jessica, that was hard. I answered correctly, but I wanted to have different answers. So are you adding up the amount? You're adding up the letters. So Nola, for question 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you had letters. So if you had 3 A's, 1 B, and 1 C, so like Lola said, she had 5 C's. Sean said she had 4 C's and 1 B. You're just adding up the number of letters that you have. So you should only have 5 letters. So you can have 1 A, 3 B's, 2 A's, 3 C's. So Jessica has 3 C's and 2 B's. So let me know if that is clear to you, Nola. And then Mr. Hook. Yes, that's correct, Nola. Mr. Hook, have you added up your items? Feel like you're in trouble. Mr. Hook, come to the front of the class. And then Regina, just let me know when you have your answers added up. Regina has 5 C's. Okay. For 3 of the questions could have been optional with 2 answers for me. I apologize. I'm doing a lot of math problem solving. Yes, ma'am. And then Kevin, did you answer? Sean, same. Yes. And then Kevin, did you have your answers tallied up? You could post them or not. I just want to make sure so I can reveal them all at the same time. The results, the scoring. Are you having connectivities? Yes, did think we were supposed to share. No, you didn't have to share. I was just making sure that you got it because, the other day you were having connection problems. So I'm just making sure everybody, each day, people getting kicked off, kicked back on. Yes. So it's good. You can share it. You could not share it. It's perfect. I just want to make sure we're all together now. And yes. So here are the results. And mostly C's, which means 3 or more, because that's mostly. So if you have mostly C's, you have high personal accountable brain. So you have a high personally accountable brain if you have mostly C's. So 3 or more C's. You're a thermostat leader and you set the standard and own your rewiring. If you have mostly B's, you are developing accountability. And so you recognize responsibility, but need consistent self-alignment. And Sean and Jessica, that's what you both were doing, going back and forth, because it's not consistent self-alignment. So you're saying, well, maybe it depends on the situation, because sometimes that's true and sometimes it's not true. So the vacillating back and forth says that you're developing it, but it's not completely there. And then no one had this, mostly A's and D's. That's external accountability dependent. And so you're relying on others or you're avoiding it. And time to rewire your brain circuits for internal ownership. And that's where the majority of the adult population is. They're relying on others. Somebody does something, the government, they need to hold them accountable. They need to hold them, you need to do your damn job. You need to do your damn job. And then as soon as it's time for that person to do their damn job, I'm working as hard as I can. I'm doing the best that I can with what I got right now. You don't understand. I wasn't hugged enough when I was a kid. And so that's the same thing that the person in government is saying. You don't understand. I was it. And that's why it's this nice little habit doom loop, basal ganglia, credit, blame, credit, blame, credit, blame. That's what's taking place in lack of accountability. The system, the Constitution is supposed to hold you accountable. You done broke the law. Look at you. You're going against the employee handbook, policies and procedures and all of that until it's your turn. And now you want grace, mercy, and all kind of stuff. Past precedents, trying to set new things. So it's time to rewire your brain circuits for internal ownership. So thoughts on the quiz? Revelations on the quiz. Because if I say thoughts on the quiz, I'll be like, we don't like quizzes. Quit giving us pop quizzes. Stop it, Dr. Donna. So not thoughts on having the quiz, thoughts on taking the quiz. Did you, because Lola, you said you wanted to see where you were. So where you were. Are you where you thought you were? And I'm gonna turn this personal accountability blog, turn this into a blog so people can take the quiz. Take the quiz, see where you at. Is that important? Muy importante. It was interesting. That's what my offspring said. Again, if you're thinking, ... a brain emoji thinking, so I know that you're thinking. Because I can't see you. Sean said, I see in some areas I need to be more firm in my choices. Nola says, making quizzes into blog is a good idea. Thank you very much for that feedback for our business model or education model. I have to make the switch in my head. It's hard to do. Okay. So while you all are thinking, I'm just going to go and say personal accountability is the brain's highest form of leadership. Say that again. Personal accountability is the brain's highest form of leadership. When you own your choices without excuses, you rewire your mind for growth, resilience, and results. Real leaders don't wait to be held accountable. They hold themselves personally accountable first. Okay? That's what you do. You don't wait. Lola said, yes, I know I still have room for improvement. Yes, this quiz was cool. Okay. Now, got to cover this very quickly. No, I did it. That's correct. Okay, last quote for today. Oh, here's what it is. I knew it was something. Regina said, this quiz made me listen more closely to your word choice in framing them. Question 5 made me think more deeply. Roger that. Thank you for that information as well, Regina. So here's the thing. Once you become personally accountable, according to Dr. Donna, how do you hold others personally accountable? Because that's the B part of this principle of real leadership. Hold yourself personally accountable and then hold others personally accountable. I say that, but how you know how to do it? So I'm glad you asked, Regina, because here's what you do. Step 1, you got to model it first. Personal accountability must begin in your own brain. When others see you consistently owning your actions, following through, and aligning what you think, say, and do, they recognize the standards you set, and you become the thermostat, not the thermometer. So that is why you all see me doing the things that I'm doing, because I'm modeling it. I am modeling it. If I have a feeling, if I'm going to be angry, or if I'm going to cry, if I'm going to laugh, whatever, you experience that experience with me, because I'm saying this is personal accountability. This is the behaviors of it. When unaccountable people come on the live, sometimes I remove them. Sometimes I hold them accountable. Sometimes I drag them. Sometimes I block them. Sometimes I have to stop and give them empathy, hoping that they will understand. But because it is situationally dependent, but I'm modeling my actions. When I do something wrong, I apologize. I'm wrong. I didn't mean to do that. So I'm demonstrating the behaviors that make me personally accountable. I'm modeling it first so that you can mirror neuron it and go, oh, so when you're wrong, you apologize. When someone is unaccountable, you apologize. When someone calls you something other than your names that you prefer to be called by, you correct them. So those are just simple things that happen today. You model it. Number 2, you create a culture of ownership. So Dr. Donna teaches that real leaders don't hold people accountable by policing them. They invite others into ownership. So this means setting clear expectations, asking brain stimulating questions instead of giving excuses or blame, and you build an environment where excuses are replaced with responsibility. When you miss a day of a challenge, you have to say what caused you to miss turning in your information on time. I then take that information in consideration and say, yes, you can restart, or no, you cannot restart. You are done. So it is me creating this environment where I understand you go. That's why it's 8:00. You are not the first person that's gonna miss a deadline, and you won't be the last. But you can say, you know what? That was on me. Here's what I did. This is what took place. Okay, cool. Because I have had people miss the deadline and do credit and blame. And those people could not take the challenge again. You are not being personally accountable, so you missed the whole point. The point is people miss. Now, what do you do after you miss? So it's a perfect example of that being the environment in which you can make mistakes, But as soon as you make a mistake, you got to acknowledge it. As soon as you miss something, you acknowledge it, because that's personal accountability. So you create that culture where the environment says, I'm going to be responsible and not be excuse aligned and making excuses. Step 3, you use questions instead of commands. So to hold others personally accountable, real leaders ask, what outcomes are you choosing here? And Nola knows that. She gets mad and angry. Okay, cool. Once you finish with all that, we got to understand what took place. How will you rewire this for better results? What am I feeling? Why am I feeling it? And what am I getting ready to do about it so I can have a better outcome? And then what actions can you take now to align your word with your outcome? Every time I make a change in this process, I have to make sure that it aligns. Am I being double-minded? Am I doing double speak? Does this match what I said 3 weeks ago, a year ago, 5 years ago? You all saw me speaking 11 years ago, and the message has been the message for over a decade. Now, this rewires the other person's brain circuits for ownership instead of dependency. So right now we have a dependent culture, adult population on outside external entities to hold them personally accountable. That is not going to lead to best. That is going to lead to basic, as Kevin said. And then step 4, you reinforce growth, not excuses. Every time somebody makes an excuse, I come back with, that's an excuse. That's an excuse, and we can't do nothing with excuses. All you're doing is creating an excuse habit loop in the basal ganglia, and that's no brainer. So you're not going to be able to make an excuse. That's why I'm like, okay, like Nola said on the live yesterday on Instagram, I'm harder on myself than anybody else, because I'm saying I understand that it's hard to be personally accountable. I got that. But when you start making excuses, you want me to make personal accountability easier for you, and I'm never going to do that. Personal accountability is not easy, because it's simple, but it's not easy because the brain is not wired to do it. So you want me to let you stay in that other personally unaccountable system because of comfort. I told y'all yesterday, you get a message from me, you get a push from me. Everybody is getting messages. Everybody's getting pushed. You're just getting pushed and getting different messages, empowered, I would like to say, differently, because we're all different. So are y'all all getting the same message from me? No. But is the underlying principle the same? Yes. Be personally accountable to be your best. Now, here's an opportunity where you need to grow to be best. So that's what's taking place. So there are no excuses over here. It's excuse-free zone. If you want to make excuses, just go back to Loserville and be with the rest of the people making excuses. But don't get mad when somebody makes an excuse to you, because it's an acceptable excuse culture. So in summary, you cannot hold others personally accountable until you are personally accountable to yourself first. Once you rewired your brain for ownership, you hold others accountable not by force, but by creating the space, the questions, and the culture where the brain learns to own the outcomes too. So what questions do you have about the steps that you take to hold others personally accountable? Number 1, you model it. Number 2, you create a culture where ownership can thrive. Number 3, you use questions instead of commands, because that's what they're accustomed to. The law said, the government said, the job said, the system said. And now you just used to the commands. This is how I stay in line, but this is how I become accountable, but it's not personally accountable, which is why it's not best. And then you reinforce growth, not excuses. Because over there, you can make an excuse. I didn't know. Ignorance of the law is no excuse. I learned that in my criminal justice classes. So that's not a reason to not perform at a higher level. The question is, why didn't you know? Why didn't you research it first? Don't do anything without a strategy. So hopefully now it's clearer to you when I'm saying hold other people accountable. You model it first. You create a culture of ownership. You use questions instead of commands. And you reinforce growth, not excuses. So if it's clear what you need to do on that second part of holding people personally accountable, green thumbs. I'm not green thumbs up. I think I'm on my TikTok lives from before. Thumbs up. Makes sense. Got it. If I need to repeat something, let me know, because I'm going to the brain bit today, which is the picture frame brain. All is clear, according to Kevin. If you have a question, ... Nola said it's clear. Jessica said it's clear. Sean says it's clear. Lola, you probably have to go. We're sitting right at the hour mark for you. So if you do, just drop what you learned today about yourself and your brain conversation from yesterday. No questions. It does take time, though. It does. And that's the whole point. I'm glad you mentioned that, Regina, is because, as Nola said yesterday on the live as well, you got to do 30 days here, 30 days there. It's going to take time because it is not something that your brain has been wired to do. So that's why I'm saying, whenever I see somebody doing something, I'm like, fix you first, fixes a lot. Imagine if we almost all 6 billion adults just took a year to fix us first. So much will be fixed because now that you know that where the definition of accountability is coming from, that's not helping individual people. That's helping the citizens so that they can navigate through day-to-day traffic laws and lights and things like that. But that's not leading to our best. That's why I said the cure for all these mental illnesses and diseases and everything else is sitting inside of somebody, but they over there like, yeah, I'm accountable, I'm following the law, I got an 800 credit score, look at all this stuff we bought. And they're not even thinking that I can be at 100% because I'm basic, and so basic works. So it does take time, but we all got time. According to the 100 years life, most of us are going to live to be in our 80s, 90s, and some people even above 100. So what else are you going to do? Be personally accountable. It takes up a lot of time. It does, but it's definitely worth it. So the brain bit today is the brain as a picture frame. Let me slide out the way so y'all can see that. And then y'all have a little pop quiz. I put one of the questions right there. So that's what the quiz is going to look like online. And then we're over here with the brain as a picture frame. Okay, so metaphorically speaking, your brain works like a picture frame. It doesn't just hold the photo, it highlights, organizes, and gives meaning to what's inside. So the frame equals focus. The frame sets boundaries on what you see, just like attention filters what you notice. The matting equals priorities. So the mat draws your eyes towards the subject, like your brain guiding you to what matters most. And then the photo equals the experience. The image inside is shaped by your memories, your emotions, and your interpretations. So if you don't choose your frame, your brain might default to a negative or limiting one. Real leaders reframe intentionally so every experience becomes an opportunity for growth and leadership. So you shift the frame and you shift the meaning. And we know that reframing works, especially if you're experiencing potentially hijacked amygdala-ness. All right. And that is your brain bit as a picture frame. So the 3 questions on the table currently are: what did you learn today? What did you learn about yourself? And what was your brain conversation yesterday? And if you didn't have a brain conversation yesterday, why not? And that goes back to being personally accountable, creating an environment where there was something for you to do personally. You made a choice not to do it. So own that choice for not taking that action. What did you learn yesterday? What did you learn today? What did you learn about yourself? And what was your brain conversation? A friendly reminder, ... and brain thinking emoji, something, so that I know your chat is still working. The chat on YouTube is still working. And you're preparing to answer those 3 questions. Good morning. And Jessica and Sean, if you go to my Instagram page in the feed, you all missed a great live yesterday. I think it's about 30 minutes. I got that, Jessica. You can go back and check it out. That was Nola's live debut. And so that was her idea. And we talked about embrace change. She talked about the impact of real leadership on her life and her mental illnesses and how it's impacted her in a positive way after she started embracing change. So check that out. It is public and you can see. Regina, learn the full meaning of personal accountability and accountability. How exciting. I can't wait to go watch it. Yes, it's in the feed. It's me on the top, her on the bottom. So just look in the feed and it'll be there. All right, Nola. I learned the difference between accountability and personal accountability. And it's clear as a bell now. You can also understand why people Actually, I cannot answer that question. Today, I am talking about the number one principle of real leadership, which is to hold yourself and others personally accountable. Feel free to go back and watch the beginning of the live to understand what it is that I do. That's not something that I would even answer that question for. I have a doctorate in education and organizational leadership, and I teach adults how to hold themselves personally accountable and the functionality of the brain. So it sounds like you need a psychologist, a life coach, or a psychiatrist for that. There's plenty of them online. You can go research one of them. Jessica, input my notifications so I will get my messages now, but I learned that I hold myself. Okay, I understand that part. I hold myself more accountable than others around me. Nola, I learned about myself that I am a high personally accountable person, which surprised me. That's amazing. And I learned that you took the quiz so we could discuss the listening part of the quiz after on our way to the appointment today. Kevin said, today I registered as having a high personally accountable functioning brain. Yes, sir. No, Sean, I don't know why I said no. Sean said, I have learned that holding self accountable to address change for the better outcomes I have learned about myself is that I am basic and have room to grow. Kevin, you're going to have everybody saying basic now. Jessica said, my brain talk was with a staff member, and it's exciting to find people to talk with. And so, what happens when you have that brain conversation going back and forth, you create your own natural reward loop from a dopamine perspective, and then it go the basal ganglia says, "Ooh, we like that. Let's have another conversation about the brain. Let's have another conversation about the brain." And now the nucleus accumbens keeps giving you natural dopamine by talking about the brain. Nola said, I talked about how my brain has caused me to make disruptive ideas. That is correct. And then for Regina, she said, for myself, I know that I need to ask questions of those who are unaccountable. And it's difficult to do because as soon as you start holding somebody accountable, then that amygdala is popping off and saying, "Who are you to judge me? You gave me judge," because the system, the external system, says here is how you hold people accountable. But people individually aren't being held personally accountable for their day-to-day personal unaccountability. It's the big stuff. I didn't harm anybody. I didn't break any laws. I followed the rules. And Virginia said, I didn't have a brain talk yesterday, and the reason for that was. And Sean says, I will do a recap on the Instagram live. My apologies that I missed grand opening. it was I understand. It was just Nola's idea put into action because she said, I think this is a good idea. And after I said no like 50 times, and then said yes, and we did it yesterday. So it's just her saying, she too far gone. She called me a demagogue yesterday. But y'all can see it better from her perspective because she's still in the more infancy stages of it. So that's how that goes. Kevin, what brain conversation did you have yesterday? And Sean, what brain conversations did you have yesterday? Yes, she was a hit. Everybody loved it. So Sean, your brain conversation, Kevin, your brain conversation, and Regina, what decision did you make to not have a brain conversation? Not sure. I realized that I needed to do this. Listened yesterday to the live, but was distracted. Okay, so going forward, you are having brain conversations with people. You choose a topic. You want to go on chat, Regina, because you use chat and share a brain bit or something. Starting to talk about the brain. Number one, because it is part of personal accountability. And number two, getting people around you to start thinking about their brain. Just like, oh, so I'm saying you don't have to go in and start saying Hebb's law said that when neurons fire and wire, you could just give a quick brain tip. Just start sharing the brain information because people can't, as you can see from an accountability perspective, people are not thinking about their brains on a daily basis. So they're not even aware that they have 86 billion neurons. They don't know that they could think their way out of this accountable situation and think their way into a personally accountable, better existence. Kevin said, myself, personal accountability has blossomed in my mind and heart over the last 72 hours. Over the last 72 hours, wow. Okay, got it. Yesterday, I was challenged and I achieved the challenge for something new. Yes, you were, and you did that. So, got it. Will do moving forward. Yes, ma'am. So, Kevin, your brain conversation, and Sean, your brain conversation. And I would just like to say, don't make me feel bad for giving pop quizzes, okay? I'm over here. I don't have peers and nothing else. I'm over here just trying to make y'all better people. And y'all making faces at the pop quizzes, but now y'all got this new information. Brain conversation. I had to have one with myself. May sound weird, but it was much needed. First of all, it doesn't sound weird because that takes place in your default mode network. So it's not weird. When you are alone by yourself, that's your default mode network. So you're gonna be thinking, you're either gonna be daydreaming, mind wandering, or you're gonna be talking to yourself. So it's called internal dialogue for a reason. So it wasn't weird. You were by yourself. I do it all the time. Nola told y'all that on the live. When I'm holding myself personally accountable, like, shut the fuck up. You about to do this bullshit. You don't finish these dishes and get your ass back upstairs to get to work. What's wrong with you? You over here acting like a punk. Please be quiet. It's a little bit, it's probably even worse than that. And then I bring myself back upstairs to my office and I get shit done. So no, not weird at all. In fact, the fact that you're doing it shows that you are now paying attention in your default mode network and your mind is not wandering and you are not daydreaming. Okay, and Sean, did you have a conversation? Yay or nay? And you will become accustomed to it. Because part of this is if you can't explain what you're doing, then you can't be an example to people. So now you're getting to the point where you can say, here's why I'm doing this. I don't do anything without a strategy. And what happens is when I do something new, I get new neurons. It gives me the strength and the ability to go do something else. And I'm creating neural pathways. So this is why you're doing it, because people need to start talking about the brain. Remember when recycling wasn't a thing way back like 35, 40 years ago? And then we had to start talking about it. And now people recycle, they don't even think about it. It's the same concept. Having these brain conversations opens up the brain for people to start thinking about their brain. Because right now people aren't even thinking about their brain. So if you're not thinking about it, how you going to do something to make the brain stronger? Okay, and Sean said, my brain conversation was like, girl, I could do this. Then I started to do the challenge. Yes, ma'am. So getting on Instagram and doing that makes perfect sense. So if you are having to talk to your own brain, if you are having to tell Lala, Amy, shut up, we are not doing that. That is still having conversations neurologically. It's you getting accustomed to talking about the brain and then having those conversations. Because I guarantee you, 6 months from now, the more brain conversations you have, your day is going to change. You are going to be around a different group of people. You're going to be noticing things different. That insula that gives you that notification, the tenseness that you feel around people, all of that is going to subside because people are going to be thinking about their brain and their default mode network. They're not going to be thinking about what happened yesterday, what happened 50 years ago, what's about to happen, that worrying and all of that. You're going to start emotional regulation with them by simply having these small incremental brain conversations. So you're not about to say, I'm about to tell you everything that's wrong with your brain. Now, don't do that, because the goal is to have a conversation and sneak in while the amygdalas aren't paying attention. So they can't get hijacked, because you're just like, you know what? Look at this picture as a frame. You ever thought about your brain as an airplane? So if you go to the Real Leader Brain page, if you go to my account, the Real Leader Brain is the brain page. You can pick one of those topics. You can use chat, you can use something that you learned, and have those conversations, because even if you ask them a curious question, and then you know that you have asked them a question, and you can say, yeah, so when you answer a question, you get a serotonin boost. You ain't got to go try to buy no serotonin. That's what can happen. I literally said that out loud. I mean loud. My husband looked at me like I was crazy. Okay, cool. Now you know you're changing some stuff. That's how that goes. All right, so beautiful job today. And my neuroscience professors in my head, he's always talking about these beautiful colors and everything. So beautiful, wonderful work that you've done neurologically today. Tomorrow is Wired Wednesday. I have no idea what we're doing. I will know before we get back tomorrow to see what's taking place. But you all did a fantastic job. Give yourself a round of applause. You had your own natural dopamine release. Pat yourself on the back. God willing, higher power in the universe. I will be back tomorrow, same time, same place, safe space, different brain t-shirt. You all go off and have a brain-tastic day. Take care.